From business to entertainment, I sit down with folks who have reached their own level of success to discuss their accomplishments, the lessons they've learned, and the challenges they faced along the way. You're listening to The Jordan James Show. Josh Bogert, thank you so much and welcome to the show, man. It's great to have you.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here.
Awesome. So you're out in BC right now. Tell us what it's like in BC.
I am. It's really nice. Normally we get a lot of rain through the winter, and the sun has just started to come out this week. We've had a whole week of sunshine, so it's nice, and the temperatures are getting up too. So yeah, getting outside. Might do a hike this weekend. So yeah.
Nice. So actually, I think I read somewhere that you're into hiking, right? Like, what are the hot spots in BC that you like to go in?
There's a bunch. I mean, obviously the big one is the Grouse Grind. It's in North Van, not very far from the city. I think that's why it's popular. There's a lot of really, really good hikes in Squamish. So you got to drive a little further north, but there are lots of good hikes in Squamish and then up towards Whistler too. So yeah, I would say those are probably the main ones. But yeah, I honestly, I love hiking. I normally only do it in the summer. There's some hardcore people that will go all year round. But I'm a fair weather hiker personally.
Not a freezing weather kind of guy?
No.
So between like fitness, music, acting, what do you like to do in your spare time, and how do you find the time to do it?
Yeah. So obviously music is my main thing and my passion. I love making music and I do a lot of that. But when I do, I need to take breaks, obviously, otherwise probably go insane. But when I do take breaks, I love, hiking. I do CrossFit as well. That's a kind of a second passion of mine. So I work out. I also work as a CrossFit coach and personal trainer. So that's a passion project on the side. And I love cars too. And shopping, clothes. Those are my main interests. Music, and then clothes, cars, and CrossFit.
Okay. What's your favorite kind of car? 3 C's.
Favorite kind of car? That's a hard question. I think my dream car is the new Porsche 911 GT3.
Oof.
It's a little pricey for me at this point.
One day.
Yeah. I also want a Shelby Mustang GT350. Ford Raptor would be cool as well. The Koenigsegg Gemera is another one.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Anyway, right now I've got a Ford Focus ST from 2015.
Okay.
It's fun. It kind of rips. It's a 2-liter turbo. So it's light and it kind of like it pulls right away. Like when you step on it, it really takes off, but then the power kind of dips after the initial fun. But that's okay. Like if I'm just driving it around, like that's all you need. I don't need to go that fast.
Yeah, I was going to say, how many speeding tickets do you currently have?
Get me in trouble. No, I don't speed.
Okay.
No.
Wink.
Yeah. Wink. No, I haven't got a speeding ticket ever. So.
Okay.
Knock on wood.
Yeah. Let's keep that going.
No, I don't go too fast. It's the acceleration, right?
Yeah.
Getting from 0 to 50, nice and quick, and then just tossing it out.
just cruising. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about you. We know where you're from, but take us right back to the beginning. What are you all about?
So I'll just start by saying music has really been the defining thing in my life from a very, very young age. I've said it started when I was 4 and my parents put me in violin lessons, but really I think it started before that because, before I was even born, like my mom was taking my brother to mom and taught music. And then I, was doing that when I was really, really little, before I can even remember.
Right.
And then my parents put me in violin lessons when I was 4 years old. And I trained classically in violin for 7 years. And that's really when the foundation of I think everything that was going to happen started. It was in that foundation of classical training. But I always wanted to play guitar. Even when I first started playing violin, I said, this is cool, but I want to play guitar. And my parents said, you can play guitar when you're 10. So I remember and I waited. And when I turned 10, I said, you said I could play guitar when I turned 10. And they had read somewhere that was a good idea. One, to start on a classical instrument, and two, the guitar is hard to learn when you're younger because of the spacing of the frets.
Okay.
Whereas a violin, like if I have smaller hands, they make smaller violins, and like it's just better for young kids. So I started playing guitar when I was 10. I played both for a year, and then was like, I like guitar way more. At that point, I think that was when I decided this is what I want to do as a career. Like I want to be in music.
Yeah.
So I started playing guitar. I started singing, and I started like, whenever there was an opportunity at school to like sing and play guitar and get up in front of like people, I would take it, and I loved it. Like I wouldn't really get nervous. I would just get on the stage, and it would be the best thing ever. So I fell in love with performing and decided this is what I want to do. And then I decided, well, if I'm going to perform, I need to write songs. I felt anyway, right. Because all, the really, really big artists write their own songs, or so I thought. So I started writing music. And when I started writing it, I wanted to have something that I could show people. I'd written the song, and of course I could write the lyrics down, but like without actually performing it, I wanted a physical copy of the song. So I started recording myself, just with like a Guitar Hero mic and
no way,
electric guitar, just plugged right in, no amplifier, just plugged right into my computer. It was the worst thing ever. Like, it sounded terrible. But that's how I started recording. And so that grew into eventually a passion for producing music, as well as writing music and performing. And so that's where all the pieces kind of come together. Over the years too, like through high school, I learned other instruments as well. So I learned to play the drums and the saxophone and the keys. And that all kind of contributed to my ability to then learn how to produce, an entire song. Even when it's synthesized, I think there's a lot of similarities to the instruments. So knowing how to play them is definitely helpful. So yeah, that was a bit of a long-winded answer, but that's the whole story.
That's the origin story of Josh Bogert.
Yeah, exactly.
So what would you say is the hardest instrument to learn?
Violin.
Really?
The reason I think I was able to learn so many instruments is because violin is so difficult. It made all the rest seem really easy.
Oh, okay.
Because violin is so particular. If your arm isn't at the right angle, it's going to sound bad. And like with a guitar, for example, you've got frets. So if like you can only miss a note by one whole note, or a half tone. Whereas on violin, if you're slightly off, it's going to be flat or sharp, right?
Yeah.
So you can get like close to the note, but not hit it. There's more like you have to be in the right spot to get the right note.
Okay, that makes sense, because my grandma was like 75 trying to learn how to play violin. She tried it for like a day and was like, okay, I think I've had enough of this.
It also is one of those instruments where like it's going to sound bad until you're good at it.
Yeah.
Whereas with other instruments, you can get away with like not really knowing what you're doing, and it's still, the tone is okay. So it's not as annoying. Whereas when you're a little kid playing violin, it's like, it's hard to listen to.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I think my grandpa would contest to that as well.
For sure.
So talk to me about your creative process a little bit, man. Like, how does that all come together? Like, how do you start with the lyrics and then finish with the producing and the final product?
Yeah. It happens a little bit differently every time. And I think it depends. Like, sometimes I'll have an idea for a great guitar line or synth line or drum pattern or something, and I'll just get on my computer and start with that. And sometimes I'll produce the whole thing before I even write anything, like for vocals. I'll have a whole beat made, and then I'll either later come up with an idea for lyrics, or I'll take it into like a session. So I like to co-write. So I'll get in, like, normally it would be, I would go to a studio and get with some other artists and we'd write songs right now it's happening on Zoom. So we'll schedule a Zoom session and we'll just like start writing. So sometimes I'll have production that I want to work on. Sometimes we'll just start from scratch and we'll write the whole song and then I'll produce it later, which lately I prefer, just because I think I like it when the instrumentation is inspired by the song itself. Because I always think that's the most important part, is having a good song, and then you can produce it however you want. If it's a good song, you could produce it as, you know, country record, you could produce it as a pop record, you produce it literally any way, and it's still a good song. And it gives you the freedom to, you know, play around with that without the limitations of an already produced track, if that makes sense. And you're not relying on the cool factor of that track to make your song good too. So yeah, I think recently I prefer writing first, and I do prefer co-writing, although sometimes my favorite songs kind of just come to me on my own. So moral of the story is it happens differently every time, for sure. Right. But I usually co-write, and then I'll do the production myself. I'll do all the vocal production myself as well, my recording. And then I'll do mixing and mastering myself as well.
Wow.
So I take the song from start to finish.
Yeah.
Which I think is good, because it gives me a very, like, it makes my sound distinct to me. And it makes it a little bit different, right?
Absolutely. So what would you say, like, what kind of music would you say that you make? Like what style are you?
I mean, the like short answer is pop, but I know like that's not super specific nowadays, because there's a lot of, you know, different genres influence.
Yeah.
I think part of it is like I take influence from so many different genres. Because I grew up listening to country music, and I grew up studying classical music. And then in high school, I studied jazz theory, and my brother's a DJ and was really into like EDM. And I definitely dig that stuff too. So a lot of different influences, but I would say, as it's evolved over the years, I think this next batch of releases is going to really hone in on what I feel I want my sonic brand to be. And that is like songwriter focused pop. So I'm taking good songs that, you know, again, we're starting with the writing of a good song. And then when I produce it, it's in that kind of like pop realm where the production is polished and it's, you know, it's impactful, but it's giving the song room to kind of shine through. Yeah,
for sure.
That's the best way I can explain it, I think. But yeah.
I mean, like, well, that's kind of the vibe that I got from listening to some of your music as well. Is like a bit like techno pop, right? Like there's bits of elements of like lots of different kinds of styles infused all into one song.
Yeah. So like electronic pop, but also like singer-songwriter in a way.
Yeah.
I know those two don't normally go together, but I think that kind of describes my sound. If you could take the best of those two worlds and put them together, I think that's what I'm trying to do anyway.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think you're doing a good job with that, man. So singer, producer, writer, you play a billion instruments. Like, I mean, what does it take, in your opinion, to be that driven and to have that much diversity in your sound?
You have to love it. Like, I know it's cliche, and Gary Vee said it a million times, but it's you're not going to get burnt out. You're going to work hard if it's something that you enjoy doing. You know what I mean? And I mean, it's not to say that I enjoy every single part of being a musical artist. There are parts of it that are more difficult for me and more of a chore, but they're usually the non-music related, like, you know, non-music side of the business, if that makes sense. The business side of being an artist. I think it doesn't come as naturally. I have a mind for it, but music always is like the thing that I want to do. Like if you give me a choice, it's like, do you want to like work on, this business plan, or do you want to produce a song? I'm going to be like, I want to produce a song, or I want to get on stage. So I would say, yeah, loving it and loving the process, obviously is, what's going to keep me motivated for sure.
Definitely. And even though we're in like quarantine and there's no concerts and none of that stuff, if you could open for any artist right now, who would it be?
If I could open any artist right now?
Yeah.
That's a difficult question because I would for a lot of different artists.
Thought it would be difficult.
But the first one that I think of is Shawn Mendes.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I think like similar target audience. Of course, that's the business side talking, but right. I also just like respect him a lot. I think even like his journey from when he first started getting noticed to now, his vocal technique, his songwriting, everything is just like the journey is so evident that, he's put a lot of work into it. And I think him or Olivia Rodrigo.
Right.
That song that she came out with is just awesome. Driver's License. I know everyone's saying it. I think it's amazing.
I mean, it's blowing up right now, right? And even when SNL talks about you, that's when you've made it, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
There's a skit based on you or your song. That's it. You've made it.
Yeah, you made it. Oh, absolutely. That's a good benchmark.
I'd say. I mean, even like just talking about Mendes, like it goes back to all the different flavors of Canadian music that we have coming out right now, right? Like even just a couple of years ago when it just boomed, there was Alessia Cara, there was Bieber, there was all these different artists that were just booming out of Canada. Like it made us kind of go, oh yeah, like we have a table at the Grammys now. Like, let's go.
Yeah, totally. Well, and the Junos have become like, there's so much crossover between the Junos and the Grammys.
Yeah.
It's like, that is pretty cool to see Canadian artists be up there at the same level. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like we've got so many. There's Mendes, Bieber, Alessia Cara. There's JP Sax. There's Drake. There's The Weeknd. The Weeknd as well. Yeah, it's nuts.
Weeknd's blowing up. What is he like he's been in the top 10 for over a year with that Blinding Lights song. Like, holy.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah. Next level. So how do you stay on track and avoid distractions with all this stuff going on? What is your secret sauce there, man?
I would say I don't necessarily always avoid distractions. Like sometimes, I mean, I think it's worth admitting that like, I'm definitely not perfect. Sometimes I slip and sometimes, my headspace isn't always the best. There are days where, I get down, but what's important is the majority of them, I keep I think a good perspective. I've always been a patient person, so I think that helps too. But, it's a tricky question because again, I think I love what I do. So that's going to keep me on track. And I have a goal. So that's going to keep me on track. And I think the other thing is that there's no other option for me. I don't have another choice. Like, honestly, if I could go to school and get a degree that would guarantee me a job for life and be happy, I would do that. But I know that I wouldn't be happy. So, because this is all I've known for my entire life, is music. And I decided that this is what I wanted to do a long time ago. And like when I was 11 years old. And so yeah, there's no other option. I can't imagine myself doing anything else. So
has there ever been a time where you thought, maybe I could do something else, and maybe I'd like to do something or try something else?
No.
Never.
no. I mean, I've been exposed to lots of things.
Yeah.
As much as I love exercise and CrossFit, and I'm happy to be doing that as, you know, a side kind of project, because I do like it, but it's not in the same way as music. Like I can't see myself, you know, making my entire life out of that, if that makes sense. Definitely. The music is the only thing that I can see that happening with. So,
yeah. So just speaking of your music, who would you say are some of your biggest influences or role models, even just outside of music, but also just in life?
I mean, my parents, for one. I mean, they're not in music at all, but they've supported me so like incredibly throughout my life, and just like their values and morals. I think that they passed on to me. That I think that's the biggest thing. Like as it goes beyond, you know, what we do in terms of work and the specifics of it. I think just like generally being a good person. I think that's what I've learned from my parents. So they're probably my biggest role models. And then in terms of like people we know, we all know Gary Vee has been somebody that I've followed for a while, and definitely helps with like that whole mindset and perspective on like what's going on. I think without that, I probably would have been a lot less patient, and a lot more. I think I would have run into a lot more trouble, just like with my mindset, if it wasn't for his content. And then so many musical role models. Like I don't even know if I want to get into that. It's like so many. I think, you know what? The thing that got me into pop music, I do want to say this, in terms of a music role model, the thing that got me into pop music was the album Purpose by Justin Bieber.
Oh,
and
okay.
The producer of that album was Skrillex. So those two guys making that album was what kind of put me on my path currently to the kind of music that I'm making right now, and my want to like produce. Because when I heard that song, I mean, I'd been recording stuff, but when I heard that album, I was like, this is like, I want to be able to produce and like sound design and make synths and all that stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good album. And actually that makes a lot of sense. Even in terms of like vulnerability, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just kind of speaking about that and getting on that track is, how do you get vulnerable, and what's it like to get vulnerable in, say, a song like Misfits?
Yeah, that one was, I think, one of the first really vulnerable songs that I put out. And I'm glad you brought that song up, because I think it's one of my favorite songs that I've ever written. I think I needed that. I needed to write that song when I did. It happened. I mean, it was right around the time I had graduated high school. And I'd lost touch with some of the people that I knew from school. I had been doing online school for 2 years. So my last 2 years of high school were done online, because I was traveling back and forth to Toronto for music and acting. And so I had lost touch with some people there. And aside from school too, some other friends I had lost. And so like just parted ways from. And so yeah, it was a tough time where I kind of felt alone. And I think I needed to get that out. And the other side to it is that I was not necessarily like super popular in school. I wasn't the popular kid who had a bunch of friends and everybody liked. And part of like being on a TV show at that age too, I felt separated from everybody else, because either they didn't want to talk to me for some reason. Like when I got back from filming the first season of Backstage, as a lead on a TV series that would end up on Disney Channel. Either people like didn't want to talk to me for some reason, or because maybe they thought like I was I don't know, like a celebrity or something. I don't know. But either that or like people that wouldn't talk to me before, who were like rude or mean to me, like all of a sudden wanted to be my friend. And it's like, okay, well, that doesn't seem very real. So I didn't know like what to feel about it. And I just felt very isolated and different, I guess, from everybody else. And so that's how that song came around. And I was a little bit naive because obviously, like, I still had my family, my parents, my brother is my best friend, and I still had all that. But yeah, I just needed to get that out. So in a way, it was, I think, helpful for me to gain perspective on it and realize that I did have people that were, you know, with me and there to support me. So yeah, I guess that's what made it possible for me. It almost worked in opposition to what I'm saying in the song. It created that sense of like belonging, if that makes sense.
Right. And it's full of raw emotion too, right? And I feel like a lot of people can really connect to that.
Absolutely.
And that message.
And that's the other thing. Yeah. Is when I started, even like before I'd released it, when I was sending it to people, they would all connect to that song. Like I would send them a batch of songs and they would all reply saying like, wow, I really connected with that song.
Yeah.
And it made me realize that like, in a way, I think we all feel that way, kind of like misfits, and therefore we're really not, right? Because we all feel that way.
Absolutely. So, yeah. How would you describe yourself in one word? If I give you one word to describe yourself, what would you say?
One word?
Yeah.
Oh, you're asking the hard ones today.
Coming at you with all these hard questions, man.
Yeah. One word to do. You know, I've never thought about this.
I hope not.
Dude.
Exclusive tea.
Exclusive tea. One word to describe myself. Oh, dude.
We can pass this one if it's that hard. Right, how about musically? Like, even if you could just describe your musical style in one word.
My musical style in one word. Let's see. I think it's like, well, maybe we talk through it. So like I think my goal with music is to be able to help people gain perspective on their real life or understand their emotions.
There's that P word again.
Or their connection with others. Well, that's why I named my album Perspective. Right. So yeah, I don't know if that like works as like grammatically, but I would maybe use that word. Yeah, that I definitely named the EP that for a good reason. Like, I think that EP helped me gain perspective on a lot of things, like we just talked about. Mm-hmm. And it's just like my point of view, you know, like my take on things that have happened. Because I think like people can be in the same situation and see something different. So yeah, I thought that was a really cool thing to like think about. And, you know, when I make music, I want to know, like, because people will say, oh, this is how I connected with it. And it's totally different than like how I wrote it or why I wrote it. But yeah, I know this is like off topic from the one word, but I would say when it comes to like my relationship with music, one word that would describe it is like passion. I love doing it. I'm passionate about it. And yeah, like I said, I can't imagine myself doing anything else. So passion.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I mean, that works. There you go.
There we go. It took us a while, but we got it.
We got there.
We got there.
Nice. All right, man. So let's move into your acting career a little bit because that's popping as well. Like you got some good projects that you've been a part of, and was your first role in a Volkswagen commercial? Did I read that correctly?
That's right.
Wow. Okay.
That was also my first ever acting audition.
Really? You booked your first job?
And that never happens.
Dude.
That's okay. I paid for it later.
Okay.
Usually it's 100 no's and then a yes.
Yeah.
For me, it was a yes, then like 2-3 no's, and then another yes, and then 100 no's.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Yeah. But it
so
works
you had
out
your share of
today.
no's.
Yeah, I definitely have had my share of no's. Like even though I booked the first one, that's not to say that like I haven't been rejected many times. So yeah, but no, the first one was that Volkswagen commercial.
Wow. And you know what? Actually, I've spoke to a lot of actors, and they always say that out of all those 100 no's, it makes every yes feel that much better.
Yeah, I would say like if everyone was a yes, then it'd be like, no big deal.
Right.
Whereas, yeah, like if there's 100 no's, then it's like, it makes it like feel like, you know, you really have got something.
Yeah. So how did you start your acting career? Because if I'm not mistaken, your voice teacher transformed into a agent and helped you get your foot in the door. Is that what happened?
Not quite. So my voice teacher had a previous student who she taught years ago.
Okay.
Who was becoming an agent.
Okay.
And she connected me with her because she was looking for people to represent as an agent. So she didn't have any clients. And she figured people sometimes want, like casting directors will be looking for people who can play instruments for commercials. Yeah. And so I was like, sure, I'll give it a try. My first audition was a Volkswagen commercial. It had nothing to do with music. And then obviously we know how that turned out. And then 3 auditions later was the audition for Backstage for the role of Miles. Actually, I originally auditioned for a different role. I auditioned for Jax, who was my best friend in the show. But I looked at the breakdown and was like, I would be like, I feel way more connected to Miles because my first scene in the Jax audition was with Miles. I thought I would be better on the other side of the scene. So I just taped for Miles too and sent them to my agent. And then she sent them both. And they were actually like, well, we needed more people for Miles anyway to audition. So,
oh, wow.
It worked out.
Yeah, definitely. Just going back to that whole agent situation, the power of connections, that kind of proves that the power of connections and just knowing people and just having that small circle really works.
Yeah. That's a friend of a friend, and it ended up working out. She's no longer an agent, I think. Oh, yeah. Shortly after Backstage, she decided she was going to move on to casting instead. So she's on the other side now, working as a casting agent. So they're the people that the show hires to find the actors, and the agent are the people that represent the actors and pitch them to the shows. Wow.
So you played Miles on the Disney / Family Channel series Backstage for 2 seasons. What was that experience like for you? Talk to me through that process a little bit.
It was incredible. It was so much fun. I mean, I think the best part of it was just the friendships that I made on that set with the cast and crew. It was, we were together for 2 months at a time, every single day, all working together to create, this TV show, and all working towards the same goal. So it definitely created some bonds there. So I think that was the best part of it for me, was those relationships that were created while making that show. And then it was just fun. Like we would goof around and, you know, have all sorts of fun on set, cause trouble. No, not really.
Yeah. All right.
we were a pretty tame cast.
Nice.
We did what we were told. No, but it was still fun. Like, I mean, yeah, the only thing was, it filmed in Toronto in the summer, middle of summer, in a real high school. So there was no air conditioning. So it's like 40 degrees, really humid, no AC. And we're all wearing like 2 pounds of makeup.
Dang.
So yeah, not the best situation in terms of comfort that way, but it was a real blast.
Nice. And what would you say is the biggest lesson that you've learned about the industry or even life in general while working on that show?
I don't think I understood how many people it takes to make something like that. How many jobs there are in the entertainment industry. I think that was the biggest takeaway, was so many people go into making something like that. There's so many jobs that the music industry or the acting industry, as well as music industry, just the arts in general, so many jobs that the arts create.
Yeah, for sure. And now obviously things have slowed down a lot in TV and film with the pandemic and all, but you still have had quite a few roles. And even in the past year, you starred in 3 TV series, including Riverdale and Legends of Tomorrow, which is pretty sick, man. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And what were those experiences like for you? And what's your fondest memory of getting to work on some of TV's biggest shows right now?
Yeah, so those are all Vancouver local shows, which I think is really cool that there's so many shows filmed here. The industry is really, I think also just in the last little while has really taken off in Vancouver. I mean, Vancouver had a Deadpool shot here.
Yeah.
So that's pretty amazing. But yeah, I think biggest takeaway, I mean, film sets are really great for just teaching you to like go with the flow, because I'll be like, for example, the difference between, I was on 2 different sets in the same couple weeks for similar sized roles. And the first one, I got there at 6 a.m. They rushed me into hair and makeup and got my wardrobe and everything. And then I waited until 6 p.m. And then they were like, "We're ready for your scene."
Oh my.
So it was fine. Like, I'm sitting there on set being paid.
Yeah, right.
and enjoying the food, just talking to people. And then
gotta love that craft service.
Yeah, exactly. And then the next a couple weeks later, I was on another set, and I got there at 6 a.m. and I was leaving by like 7:45.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And this was just for like one scene for each of these roles.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like, you never know what the schedule is going to be like and what's going to happen. So you kind of just have to be ready to like hurry up and wait, or be ready to go.
What would you say that you took away from that? Like did you learn anything from those experiences as well?
Yeah, like just the ability to, not get stressed out about that. I think the ability to just kind of be like, it is what it is, and be prepared, like myself, know my lines and have thought about everything and be prepared when I get there. And then, just like know that there are a lot of people and a lot of processes that are happening. And for me to just, be able to do my part and do it effectively so that everybody else can do theirs.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it seems like your star is starting to shine, man. Like I feel like you're on a path to greatness right now. Like I wouldn't be surprised if we see you at the Grammys and the Emmys in a couple of years. No joke.
Thank you.
What would you say is the biggest lesson that you've learned from the very beginning to where you are now?
I think patience, honestly. When I was first on the TV show, that was the first time that I was signed to a record label.
Mm-hmm.
It was in association with that TV show. And record labels in general just tend to not be fast about things, at least some of them. I mean, I'm sure it depends on the situation, but yeah, things tend to take a little bit longer because it has to go through more people and all that stuff. And I just wanted everything in that moment. I was like, we need to get this song out and it's going to blow up and I'm going to be, Justin Bieber next week.
Yeah.
And when that didn't happen on the first song, I was like, okay, well, we need to do the next one right now. But at the time, I don't think that I was ready for that, nor was, I don't think that, like, the songs that I was releasing, I wasn't really writing a lot of the lyrics. I wasn't producing them. They weren't as me as they are now. So I didn't realize back then that there was stuff that I needed to learn before any of that happens. Right. And I still, like, there's probably still things that, I'm going to look back and think, wow, I can't believe, like, I didn't realize that. So understanding that I'm sure there's still more stuff that, I need to go through, and being patient.
Yeah. So they were kind of like your stepping stones to get you to where you are today.
Yeah. And I learned something from every experience that I had, you know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, I think being patient and knowing that, like, my life is going to teach me things along the way.
Yeah. So just kind of sticking to that whole learning curve of everything, would you say that you're done learning now, or are you still continuing to evolve your learning process?
Absolutely. I think I'll always be learning through my whole life. I hope I'm always learning. I don't want to ever get to a point where I think I know everything, because it's not possible.
Right. And because you know so many things, I mean, it'd be easier for one to just be like, okay, like I'm just going to stick with one of these things and just kind of play guitar or play violin, but not you.
Well, and you can always get better at those things. You can be the best in the world and you can still get better.
Right.
There's no limit. There's no limit. And I mean, when I was graduating from high school and I decided not to go to post-secondary, people would say, like, oh, well, that's like a mistake. And, you need to keep learning. And I'm like, I never said I'm going to stop learning. I'm going to do it differently. I'm going to do it my way. You know what I mean? Because I don't see how, like, I learn so much all the time. And I think that's so important through your whole life. I think the people who know and want to learn through their whole life are going to be successful till the very end, no matter what they do.
Yeah. So how do you find those learning opportunities in everything that you do?
Well, I mean, it's easy right now. I know there's lots of things I don't know. When I'm producing music, I always run into, something. I run into a problem that I need to solve and I don't necessarily know how. YouTube's great. I mean, there's a lot of ways to learn things now that we didn't have, like our previous generations weren't able to take advantage of. So
right.
The internet is awesome for that. And it's free. So yeah, there's always, like, I just always look at things like, if there's an issue, I'm going to learn how to get past that.
Yeah. And it's like you said, it's much easier now, even with editing. When I run into something, I'll just YouTube that real quick. Done. Move on to the next thing.
Well, and I'll be faced with, like, oh, I need to make album covers. and I don't have the budget to hire somebody. So I'm going to do it myself. I have to learn how to use Photoshop.
Yeah.
And we got the photos in and the backgrounds aren't right. So I have to literally replace all the backgrounds. So I have to learn how to like mask out the subject and like replace the background and composite it so that it doesn't look pasted on and all that stuff. Right. So that was all just me going on YouTube and trying to figure it out because I've never used Photoshop before.
Right.
So there you go. Like there's always going to be things where it's like, yeah. And just being up for that. You know what I mean? Not saying, oh, well, I can't do that.
Yeah. Because it is a learning curve. Like it's not like you're going to just get it all overnight.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, being up for those challenges and saying, you know what, I'm going to learn how to do this so I can do it. And even if I get somebody else to do it later, I'm probably going to know how to communicate what I want a little bit better. Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I've done it and I know what the process is like. Right.
So just going back to your time on the Disney Channel, I wouldn't say that it like set you up. I mean, maybe it would. It kind of gave you a bit of a kickstart into what you're doing now.
Yeah,
right?
It definitely, it was a way to, you know, take the next step on the staircase, if that makes sense. I don't think it was the first one nor will it be the last one, but it was a big step on that staircase. Because right before I got the show, I was playing, I think I played like 100 shows that year. Wow. And they were all like cafes, restaurants, even like open mics, some paid too, and like house parties. And so it was all super fun and awesome and great experience performing, got really comfortable doing that. And then, but I was kind of getting to that point where I was like, okay, but what's the next step? Like, how do I go further? And then I'm all of a sudden on a TV show and I've got like a bunch of followers on social media and I'm touring with Family Channel. Like the first tour that I went on, like musical tour that I went on, the headliner was Dea. And that was like right after the Chainsmokers came out with Don't Let Me Down. It was a huge song. Yeah. And I was like, this is insane that I'm on a tour with her and like a bunch of other amazing acts too. So, and then the next year it was Sabrina Carpenter and the Vamps. Yeah. Big names. So it's just like, it was incredible to share a stage with those artists. And I was performing in front of like groups of like 1,000, 3,000, 5,000, wow, which I've never done before. So yeah, it was definitely a big step and taught me a lot and set me up with opportunities.
Yeah. So what would you say were some of the challenges that you faced along the way?
There've been, there's a lot of challenges, challenges that I've faced with my own like mind, like myself. There's definitely self-doubt. It happens to the best of us, right? And sometimes I think like, am I, are the songs good have I put in enough work to deserve like, what I'm dreaming of. And, so there's that battle, with myself that happens sometimes. But then, I have to step back and say like, I have to trust the process too. And it helps that I love the process of doing what I do. So I think that's definitely a necessity when it comes to these kind of things. And then just challenges of like, being so young as an artist, I think it's sometimes difficult to gain respect at such a young age. Right. I'm finding it a little bit easier now. I'm 20 years old. But when, say, I was, 15, 16, 17 even, it was a lot more difficult for people to get people to take me seriously as an artist. Because I had, big ideas and I knew what I wanted. But people just, didn't take that seriously all the time. I mean, there are definitely some people who would see that, and I'm, super grateful for some of the opportunities that I got through the people who believed in me. But yeah, I think that was definitely a challenge, and still is sometimes, I work as a producer as well for other artists now. I'll work as a producer, mixing engineer, mastering engineer. And a lot of times, I'll end up in a room. I'm not right now, obviously with COVID, but I'll end up in a room or online Zoom writing camp or something. And honestly, I'll leave my age out of it unless someone directly asks me. I just won't bring it up because, sometimes people think I'm older than I am, and I think sometimes that works in my favor because if I say like, oh yeah, I'm 20, they go, oh my God, you're so young. And then, some people will be like, well, how does he know anything then? It's like, well, I've been doing it for a long time, even though I'm young, I started early. So yeah.
And where do you think that doubt comes from? Like, why do you think people automatically assume that somebody who is younger might not have the same skills or knowledge as somebody who's not?
I really don't know, honestly. I mean, yeah, I really don't know where that comes from, because I don't think you can necessarily judge somebody. But I mean, I've always been like, I don't judge anybody on like, I think I give people the benefit of the doubt always. That's always been my personality, right? So I don't judge people at all, really, by anything, other than, how they treat other people and, what kind of person they are. And so I think that goes beyond age. It goes beyond a lot of things. It goes beyond, gender, skin color, anything. Right.
Right.
So yeah, I really don't know. I don't know where that comes from.
Well, I think that's really important, and really important for like listeners to hear, because that's our generation, right? Is that we're just so much more accepting than I think some previous generations. And a lot of people, I mean, including myself, have their own self demons and their own skeletons in the closet, rather. And then they just kind of, like we're trying to find our own path and find our own footing. So it's really important. And how do you overcome those obstacles?
Well, I think like it's realizing nobody else knows you as much as you do. Right. And that's evident because people make judgments without the whole picture. They don't see the whole thing. They like I can't even begin to say that I know everything about you. You know what I mean? Like, this is the first time we're talking to each other. So like, there's no way that and even the closest people to you, like, they're still not going to know every single thought and every single, they don't know everything. So their judgment can't be accurate.
Right.
And that's just the way it is. So yeah, I think that's kind of how I get through it and how I see it.
And what would you say defines a person? What really makes them who they are?
I think the way that they relate to other people, the way that they communicate and exist in an ecosystem, right? Because if you're one person alone, then really there's no character there because you're not interacting with anybody, and you just go crazy. And there's science behind that too. So we are social people, right? We're social beings. So I think that's part of it. Actually, I'm just remembering in acting classes, they say character is how a person reacts under duress. Right? So that's something too. It's not exactly the same as what I just said, but that's something that I just remembered that I learned in an acting class.
What would you say inspires you to become a better version of yourself? Because that's what we all strive for, right? It's to kind of just every day is just to become a better version of who we were yesterday.
Honestly, I think there's really there's no other choice. I think it's arrogant to say that like, oh, like I'm the best version of myself. And I know everything, you know, like, it's just not realistic. I'm also a pretty practical person, and I know that is not a practical way to look at it. So just practicality, honestly, it's just the way it has to be.
And true to yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you can always learn, you always be better, you know?
Right. Do you find that there's competition when somebody finds that you might be good at something or you excel at something? Do you kind of find that there's a balance between how people view you as maybe an equal or as competition? Because once you become good at something, then you become competition to them, right?
Right. Yes. I definitely think that's an element. Like there's a dynamic there with certain people. I like to look at it as like in this industry, in at least I know, there's no, like if someone else's success is not taking away from mine. That's how I look at it. It's just not the way it is. There's an abundance of opportunity for everybody. So when you look at it that way, it really takes the competition out of it. But there are definitely going to be people who see someone who's good at something and view that as competition. And I think it's a kind of a one-dimensional perspective when you kind of open your mind to like seeing it from all different points of view. You realize that like it's just not the case. There's really no need for that competition, because really we should be like helping each other out, you know, because, you know, a high tide floats all boats. I think that's the saying. Right. If you're helping other people, they're going to want to help you, and everybody comes out better. So,
right. So just jumping right back in, man, like what would you say is the most difficult decision that you've had to make in order to pursue your destiny? Like are you there yet? Do you feel like you've kind of are in a place where you're doing what you love to do and you're happy with it?
I would say yes. I feel like I'm in a place where I'm doing what I love to do and I'm happy. I definitely wouldn't say that I've like made it. I wouldn't use that word or those words, because, and I don't think I ever really will. I don't know. Like when I get 1 million streams on a song, did I make it? Or is it when I finally play Madison Square Garden, sell it out? Have I made it? Or is it, you know, winning a Grammy? Or is it like, I don't think there's any particular thing that's going to define when I make it. So there's that. I think it's going to be a lifetime process for sure. And that's why enjoying what you do is so important, I think. Now, in terms of what the hardest decision that I've had to make, honestly, the hardest decision was like the initial decision of, you know, doing this. After that, it's like, I know what I'm going towards. So all the decisions become more clear.
Right. Climbing that ladder.
Yeah. Like I just refer back to, okay, well, what is it that I'm working towards? And that helps me make the decisions. Right. So I think, yeah, that was the hardest decision, was just deciding to do music, because it is scary. You know, there's no guarantee, even compared to acting. The acting process is quite straightforward. You take classes, you put together a demo reel, you send that to agencies until you get an agent. And then the agent sends you out to auditions until you book roles. And that's how every actor does it. Right. Whereas with music, if you look at the success stories, they're all different. Everybody's success story is different. So there's no roadmap to like, oh, this is what you need to do to get here. So that makes it a little bit scary, and there's no guarantee. So I think that was the hardest decision for sure.
Right. So it's kind of like you're just climbing the ladder without any top. Like even when you get your Grammy, when you play Madison Square Garden, it's just another like notch on your belt kind of.
Yeah. I'd say like we talked about the, like always learning. It's a journey, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that you could look at it two ways. You could say like, you never really make it because there is no like one moment other than happiness, like I think if you're happy with what you're doing, you know what? I changed my mind. I will say that I've made it, because I think if you're happy with what you're doing, then you've made it.
All right.
There we go. Perspective. It depends on how you look at it. And I think that's a really good way to look at it. It's like, if you're happy, you've made it. Right? So
yeah, for sure.
There you
go. So would you say that you have like an end goal? Like, is there something that you're going after? I know we just kind of like touched on that a bit.
I have goals for sure. So Madison Square Garden is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Platinum album is another one. A Grammy would be nice too.
Just nice. That's it.
It'd be nice. Yeah, it'd be okay. It'd be all right. Yeah, I would say I definitely have a lot of goals. A world tour. I would love to go on tour around the whole world. So definitely goals, but no like one end goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. So what would you say would be your top 5 values? Like, we've already listed your goals. What are your values in life?
Respect. First and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
Having respect for other people, respecting yourself, and respecting other people. And I said that, it's respecting your environment too, like things around you. Those 3. Definitely respect is on top of the list. Honesty. I mean, once you cover that, I think everything else is included, because everything else falls under it, right? Honesty, kindness, it all comes down to that.
For sure. It's funny that you mentioned that, actually, because a few years ago, I was working at a camp as a counselor, and I thought I was the coolest counselor, and all the kids thought I was the coolest counselor because I one rule, and it was respect. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, it's actually like 500 rules all under one umbrella.
All under one, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can't go wrong at that point, right? If you're having respect for everyone else, that's, you can't go wrong.
Right. How do you handle high stress situations? Because obviously doing what you do there must be times where you're kind of just want to bang your head up against a wall. How do you handle those situations?
I lift heavy weights.
Yeah, that'll do it.
It's so like, I think everyone needs to find their own thing, but for me, that really does it. If I'm stressed, I lift some heavy weights, and it definitely helps.
Right.
And then just like going back to like trying to step back and think, okay, this is probably a bigger deal it's not as big a deal as I'm making it. And, lifting the weight sometimes helps me get there too.
What instantly relaxes you? Like, what makes you just kind of feel mellow as can be?
Music. I'll listen to that. Music. You knew I was going to say that.
I did. I really did.
That's funny. Asking questions you already know the answers to. I think that's an obvious one. I'll put on music. Music can get me really hyped too, depending on what it is. But I think music helps me understand my emotions, and has for my entire life. And so, yeah, like a good relaxing song will definitely affect me. I think music is the thing that affects me the most, you know, because a song can be sad and it'll make me sad, and the song can be happy and it'll make me happy. And, you know, I'll listen to dubstep and it'll just get me so hyped.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd say, music is something that has definitely allowed me to express my emotions and also like understand them.
Mm-hmm. It's funny that you mentioned dubstep because I see a little bit of techno in your vibe, and I'm like, I could totally see you play Veld, man. Like, come to Veld Fest, I'll be there.
Thanks, dude. Yeah, I kind of learned how to produce dubstep as a way to like, because I think it's the highest level of music production. Music is so complicated that if you know how to produce, it's like playing the violin. It's hard to play all the others. It's kind of the same with dubstep, I think. It doesn't cover everything. Like, you don't get a lot of musicality when it comes to sound engineering at its finest.
Yeah,
I think that's the hardest form of it. So learning how to do that made the other stuff seem easy.
But how would you define success? Like, if you could define success in your own words, what would you say?
Happiness. Happiness and the ability to, you know, the ability to support yourself doing what you love doing.
Right.
Because I think it's way more valuable to be making, you know, $30,000 a year and be super pumped every single day than making millions and being depressed. Like, that sucks. So yeah, doing what you love and happiness.
And what would you say are the keys to reaching that level of happiness?
Self-awareness, knowing yourself and knowing what you want and what will make you happy is the unlock.
What have you been missing most about the world that the pandemic has just like canceled?
Human connection is a big one. I mean, it's not that it's completely gone. And I'm grateful that we have technology to like use Zoom and you know, FaceTime and all the stuff. And we can keep in contact, but there's definitely an element of like that human connection that is partially missing. And I miss that. And live shows.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a concert guy. Like, I'm missing my concerts 100%.
Yeah. Performing them and going to them.
Yeah.
I miss both of those things.
What was the last concert that you went to?
The last concert that I went to, well, technically it was my own. The EP show was like right before. It was last March. So it was right before things started shutting down in Canada. And then the last show that I attended that wasn't my own, I think, was Contact, which is it's like the Veld, but in BC.
Right.
It's winter. It's in BC Place Stadium.
Okay.
And so it's an indoor festival with lots of dubstep.
Oh, that sounds so cool.
2 full days of headbanging.
Good times.
So it gets a little crazy, but it was fun. It was fun. I think that's the last show I went to. Pretty sure.
Any upcoming projects for you, man? Like, what's next for you at this point?
I've got a lot of new music coming out. I was toying with the idea of an album and I had it kind of ready, but then I decided it was a little bit too all over the place because I have so many influences. It was jumping around, and I decided I wanted to kind of focus on at least a kind of main sonic brand for now anyways. And I can explore other things later, but I wanted to really define that. So I narrowed down some of the songs, came up with some new ones, reproduced some of them. And I've got a bunch of songs that I'm really proud of that I want to put out this year, but I do also want to give it the time for me to, you know, execute the releases properly. So I was planning on releasing stuff sooner, but I think at this point we're looking at maybe summertime starting to put these songs out.
Nice.
But either way, it's going to be lots of new music this year. I have some features too coming out on some DJs tracks between now and then. So
sweet.
Lots of new music. And hopefully once this pandemic is over, I'd love to start doing shows again too.
Definitely. So where can our listeners connect with you online?
Online, I've got Instagram, TikTok. Those are kind of the main ones that I'm active on. I've got a website, www.joshbogert.com. You can kind of get to all my socials through there. So if that's easy, or you just really search my name anywhere and it'll come up. YouTube too. So yeah, that's pretty much it. My music's on Spotify, Apple Music, any of the streaming platforms. It's out everywhere. So just look me up and I'm sure it'll pop up.
All over the place. Well, we'll definitely put your tags in the descriptions as well, all over our streaming platforms.
Thank you.
And Josh, thanks again, man. This has been a great conversation and a really good way to start the weekend. And
I wish you the best of luck with everything you've got going on. And I look forward to a time where we can chat again.
Absolutely. I would love that. And I just want to say I really, really appreciate you having me on this podcast. It's been like super fun chatting with you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Josh Bogert, everybody. Be sure to check out his latest single, Different, on all the streaming platforms. We'll see you next time on The Jordan James Show, and we'll just leave you off with a message from one of our sponsors.
During COVID-19, during the pandemic, there was a lot of chaos going on. And we thought, what could we do throughout this period of time where instead of focusing on these problems, we could think of an opportunity.
My name is Matthew Evanson. I am co-founder and head coach at F.I.T Performance.
My name is Manana Bijue. I'm 21 years old and I am the co-founder and head coach here at F.I.T Performance.
We initially met on our first day at fitness and health promotion at Durham College. Throughout that, we started to study together a little bit more. And we really noticed that we had a really good work connection. We could work well together.
So we started brainstorming. Matthew and myself would hop on calls every day, trying to think, create an idea. What can we do to really make an impact that can also change people's lives? And that's when we decided to come up with F.I.T Performance, which is now our company that we are very proud and very happy to bring to you guys. Our company offers personalized, tailored workout programs specific to your body that are safe, efficient, effective, and enjoyable.
We also have our training insights, which dive into the science behind some of our movements and what's happening exactly to your body when you're working out, when you're doing these types of things.
There you go, come on! Squeeze that back, come on! Come on, Matthew!
What sets us apart is our focus on lifestyle and mindset and training insights. We believe that focusing more on health as a holistic view and overall, physical and the mental aspect of things, focusing on overall wellness, we think not only provides you with more information and knowledge, but it helps with a better transformation and an overall healthy lifestyle. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. If you're interested on taking the first step to an everlasting journey of growth, physically, mentally, and emotionally,
feel free to reach out to us on our social media. We'll link our information at the end of the video, and we'd be more than happy to help you set and achieve your health and fitness goals by leveraging our functional improvement techniques. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for your time, and we hope to connect with you soon. Take care.